First of all, if you want to write down the scope of the project, the very first thing what you have to do is, first of all, you have to collect all the crucial project information. Whatever are relating to the project, that information has to be traced out in the beginning. So what are the information we have to collect? We have to understand the deliverables of the project. What are the different deliverables of the project we must understand? Next, what are the available resources with us to develop the application? Next, what are the inclusions and exclusions we have to consider while you're developing the application? Followed by the kind of constraints what you might be facing in near times when you are providing the solutions to the client. This is the first step when you want to write down the scope of the project, because most of the people have a difficulty in writing down the scope. In order to have more simplicity, these are the steps which I have given so far. So the very first thing what we have to do is we have to collect all the crucial informations which is relating to the project. This is the first step. Second, we have to build out a project schedule. What is project schedule stands for? Project schedule nothing but what are the different tasks we want to complete, and to complete the task what are the milestones, because we need to have milestones for every month or every 2 months, every 3 months, and so on. So we must be knowing about the tasks first. Followed by this, we must be knowing about the milestone we want to achieve. Along with that, you must be knowing about the phases of the project, because any project will be having different phases. This is what we call it as SDLC phases stands for. Means whenever you are developing any application, there are stages of SDLC, something like analysis, planning and design, implementation, testing, deployment, delivery, followed by maintenance, all that. So these are the phases of application development. So these project phases we must be knowing. So collecting of crucial information relating to the project by considering the deliverables, available resources and all, everything is important. Second, we must be knowing about the schedule, project schedule, like how much, what are the major tasks to be focused more on, right? What are our milestones? What are the project phases, all that. Whereas on the third step, we have to tailor the scope of your project and organization, right? So we have to tailor. So this tailoring of scope of the project, again varying from organization to project. It purely depends upon the kind of functionality and the domain what they are having, and what kind of applications we are developing, and all, everything will be varied on the third step. Next, fourth point, we have to compile and review. What are all you are going to compile and review here? First of all, we must be knowing about why project is necessary for the customer. Why project or a product is something is essentially important for a customer to develop with. First point. Second, who are our project stakeholders? Project stakeholders nothing but people who are either directly or indirectly involving in the project will be considered as project stakeholders. So we must be knowing about who are our project stakeholders. Third point, how these stakeholders will provide value and as well as benefit for the project, because they should provide a value added services to the project to support with. That is also essentially needed. Now, apart from that, we must cross check what are the resources available with us. What are the different resources available? Are these resources are sufficient for us to complete the project or not? Resources may be in terms of the infrastructure, in terms of the software, in terms of the manpower, right? In terms of the budget, whatever we are having, all this will be comes under the resources and all. So there must be an adequate resources for us to complete the project also. Followed by this, we need to have a realistic timelines. This is not something like exaggerated one. Need to have realistic timelines in order to close our deliverables and all that here itself. At the same time, do we have the access to the resources? Because for example, whenever we are working for some government projects or something like, there will be restriction of data to access, because they have their own security controls, all that, which doesn't allow us to use the resources, right? So they are not allowing you to take the data because the data is sensitive. So these are the practical difficulties, because without having a data, you cannot work on the testing and all that, right? These are the practical difficulties whenever we are developing the project will be happens. So we must be knowing about what is the access, means as a team, to what extent we have an access to have that resources which is really required for us to work on the project when it is needed, because we don't require access and all everything all the time. When it is needed, we need to have it. Next, at the same time, we need to list out what are the inclusions and exclusions and all everything here. At the same time, we must be knowing about what are the different tasks to be added to make project kicked off. Means if you want to kick off the project and all, what are the tasks we need to add it to that. At the same time, we should not see any sort of deviation in it. That is also essentially important to start with. At the same time, what are the constraints do we have, right? If we have the constraints, what is the amount of solution we want to come out of it? So these are the aspects we have to consider under the fourth step under compile and review. This is the fourth step before you are going for a project scope, before you are going to write a project scope. And last but not least, whatever the scope you have identified, whatever we have written, must put it on practice when you are working on the project. So we will be knowing about what is that we are going to do, what are our limitations, what are our accessibilities, to what extent are these useful for us to complete the project, what kind of difficulties we could be facing in near times, and how to manage and how to minimize that risk and all everything. That evaluation we will be having whenever we are understanding and whenever we write the scope of the project in the initial stages of application development. This is what we call it as project scope is all about.